Because, yeah, my macaroni is done and it is delicious. So I will apologize if I forget to hit mute and you accidentally hear me chewing my food. I know it's disgusting, but I am starving to death. Much like your villagers are.
No, I don't want that. Don't like that.
So, like,
Didn't we just get done discussing that we weren't starving to death?
It's a possibility. It's going to be a long, hard winter. You never know.
No.
So before we move on to the brothel,
Well, did we actually come to any kind of conclusion with the bakers?
My understanding is that you told them to keep doing what you're doing for now, but if the winter gets bad enough, we might have to come for your supplies. And at that point, you're going to accept our payment, and that's final.
I mean, that's what, like, mine, and I think Edmont agreed with me. His recommendation was, but Solitayre didn't speak up and say yes or no.
Well,
before we end up the break.
I mean, it sounds like
supports that idea.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this guy is just like he'll watch everyone starve before he starts baking bread before he's ready.
Make an insight check.
Okay. I'm good at insight. Let's see. That's a 17.
He wouldn't say this outwardly, but that's more or less the measure of the man. Feeding these people is your job, not his.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is part of our job.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to side with Genie and Edmund at that point. Like, if we need food and he has food, then we're taking it.
We will pay you
we'll pay for it, but
right. But as a I do want to make it clear to him that, like, as someone who, yeah, I understand, like, you explained it to me, like, he is very particular about his tools, and like Jeannie's worked with lots of, I imagine, artisans like that, and is a little bit like that herself. Like, she's a little more likely to just set up shop anywhere because we've been out in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's gotten over that a little bit. But
Victor also makes the point that if the villagers find out he is hoarding food, he will not protect his family.
Well, that's also your job, to protect some of your citizens from your other citizens. Is that what we're calling these people? Are we calling them citizens?
I thought we were calling them the peasantry.
Well, that's the question. Are they?
I think we'd be calling them citizens. That seems like it matches the Fernescan traditions.
Are they citizens or are they serfs? Because most of these people are under the impression that they're serfs.
They're serfs.
So getting used to the idea that they're now citizens, that's going to take some doing.
I would totally be calling them citizens.
That's an Eevee decision. But, like, I mean, like, ultimately, like, that's an Eevee decision, but at the same time, like, Genie has just been treating them like you would treat your standard, like, kind of peasant class in Ferniska.
Well, in Ferniska, they would definitely be citizens.
So that's how Genie's been treating them, like, because we don't really have serfs, do we?
The Republic did have a tradition of feudalism, but that was incompatible with the Church's teachings. When the Aetherian Church moved to the Republic, that's one of the traditions the Republic had to slough away.
So, like, we don't, like, so as far as I'm concerned, Gene doesn't really have the frame of reference to treat them like serfs.
If anybody in the Republic did, it would probably be people from, because you guys are from way out at the far reaches of the Republic. Like, that tradition culturally is still there, and there are places where they're not serfs by law, but they are serfs just in practice. Just because of the realities of living in the land. But
I feel like Nigel would be, you know.
I think it's safe to say our family has no personal interaction with serfdom.
I think by Ferniscan standards, Eevee is probably the equivalent of just like a pinko kami. So I don't think she's treating these people like serfs.
And to be clear, there's no actual negative connotation there necessarily. Like, the Lord offers protection to the people who work his land. That's a fair arrangement at certain points in history, and it's certainly a fair arrangement in certain points in Darkon. But it's not how you guys were raised amongst your religious teaching. It's not necessarily how you have to run this village. But it is how they've been working until practice. They've worked the land and delivered all of the product to communal stores to be used for the village over the course of the winter. And that the Blazcheks have just come and kind of thrown a wrench into that work because they want to set up a shop with goods that they own.
I mean,
Well, now we're not talking about a system of government. We're talking about an economic system. That's different.
The bottom line, as I understand it, is we're not going to let people starve
Yes.
while you have a wagon full of provision.
Correct.
yes.
If we
That's
need that
basically
store,
the
we're going
bottom
to take
line.
it. We can,
Yeah.
like, if need be, you're willing to come take it by force.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the big thing is we need to make sure that the way that he's treated is consistent with the expectation, the treatment of the other citizens.
Ekon, I need you to make me an insight check, please.
You got it. That's 21 on insight.
An invitation arrives to the manor a few days after you guys are back and you're rested and get situated. So by this time, you've had a meeting with the Blazcheks. By this time, you've allowed the Ordinescus to come in and settle in the village. And you've put out a couple of small fires surrounding that. But things are kind of slowing down and settling into the peace of what will hopefully be an uneventful winter. But an invitation arrives to the manor house to Aethar Ekon, Duchess Evelyn, and the Veritas household. The invitation arrives from the Cerven, the brothel that is now opened up in town. Madame Zophie would like to host you and your family, but she's addressed it to Aethar Ekon, which strikes you as very respectful. Because one of the battles you've been fighting is it is the inclination of these people to call you Father Ekon, which is not the correct term, and you've been kind of correcting them to get them to call you Aethar instead. She has used the correct term, which tells you that she's making a great effort to be respectful of your station.
He's putting his station above the Duchess, even.
She did.
question: how does the Etherine Church feel about prostitution?
Kind of live and let live. If it's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
hurting nobody. If you're a married
This doesn't
man,
actually come up before.
if you're married, you're not supposed to be fornicating outside of
Your spouse.
your spouse, but it's kind of live and let live. The church doesn't have a lot of taboos or hang-ups about it. As long as you don't break one of the other tenets of the church. And I guess brothels operating inside of the Republic have to give some percentage of their service to the church. I guess I haven't thought that part all the way through. They're required to... I guess they just give it in gold.
Point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, from the description of some of the Aethars we've run into before, I could see there, especially in
That's true.
To make
Capital.
it very clear, Evie's going to set up the rule right away that we are not taking a payment in service from these people. These people are paying in gold.
They're paying in gold, and anybody who does not wish to serve them shall not be forced or coerced into service. If we find out, we will remove them.
Lugrin tells Evie, like, you might want to hold off on that until you've partaken of their services. You might change your mind.
Where are you even getting the money to go to a brothel, Lugrin?
Lugrin has been hosted several times at the brothel. He's a man in good standing of the Veritas family, and he now has this job where he is going to run the
They're trying to bribe us.
vineyard that you guys are going to establish. None of that work can even begin until spring. But Lugrin is already acting as though he is due like respect and social standing for this important work that he will do someday.
Okay, so he has he actually backed any of that up yet?
Make an insight check again.
Okay.
I mean, he's not in a position to back any. There's nothing to do. He can't. All he can do right now is like try to learn how to.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him to do. I want him to learn the trade. I want him to learn what is required to do this. And I got a 19 on insight.
So
Has he actually backed?
I'll tell you this
actually
for
done
free.
what I
The,
told-
the insight check's not for Lugrin.
Okay.
He's read the books you've given him.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all you can determine now. It's going to the proof is going to be is how he starts administering it come spring.
Okay.
We don't know yet. However, Lugrin doesn't know this, but you're sure that, yeah, Lugrin could scrape some silvers together if he wanted to go partake of this brothel's services, but they've been hosting him fairly regularly as a member of your family. And they've been doing this, you can tell pretty immediately after speaking with Lugrin, that they've been doing this to get into your good graces.
Well,
They're
that's
treating your
fairly
family
obvious, yeah.
correctly.
That was a wrong path for them to take.
Why does everybody hate Lugrin so much?
I don't hate
I don't-
Lugrin.
I'm fine with him.
Phoebe doesn't hate him.
We just don't consider him.
Lugrin
Jeannie
had-
forgot he existed and had to draw him on the religious icon in crayon.
I did forget he existed.
No problem.
I almost forgot. I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, right. I forgot to add Orson, and then I forgot to add Orson.
You know what's more insulting? You remember Tech Tech.
I think Brickroad forgot Lugrin at one point.
Lugrin ain't hurt nobody.
I mean,
He's
he's
fine.
kind of the least important person of the Veritas family that's here. He's not been involved in any major plot points that I'm aware of.
Yeah, Tinny is more helpful than Lugrin has been.
And he's also more trouble.
But anyway, you find out that they've extended him more credit than he realistically deserves to have extended, but this credit has been given in good faith to establish a good time, like positive connections with the Veritas family. And that has happened because he has nothing bad to say about any of these women. But yeah,
Well, I guess it's
they
time-
extend an invitation. They extend it to Aethar Ekon, the Duchess Evelyn, and the Veritas household. They would like to host you
Oh,
for
no.
dinner.
Evie makes it clear that this is a professional. Well, I can't even see professional because it's a brothel.
I mean,
This
it's
is-
a
It's professional.
profession.
It's a job.
Yeah, but I mean, like when I say professional, it implies that they're going to be doing their profession, and that's not what Evie's trying to do here.
social.
So, a social, yeah,
It's a social call.
It's a formal.
Official or
an official, yeah, official's good. This is an official visit.
Walking on the street, bantering on like, what is the correct way to just call this? Like, because it's not professional, because none of us are getting sexed.
No, you don't know that yet. Night is young.
It's early girls.
Evie's gonna like, no one is to partake of services during this official meeting.
Victor's like, so after dinner I should leave and come back?
No, certainly.
So are all of you going?
Yeah.
By all of you, I'm
I'll go.
also including Orson, because Orson kind of tags along.
Orson is absolutely going.
Then yeah,
If
Orson
everyone
would
was-
Orson would make that joke then. If you say, like, none of us are to partake of their services, Orson would say, then should I leave and come back?
If any of us deserve to partake of their services, it's Orson.
By God,
Yeah.
yes. That poor boy.
He's 15.
So?
So Zekin.
yeah, so am I.
I was a 15-year-old boy at one point. I could
I don't
have,
think
if I had silver to spend.
any of us should have the sex.
I don't
I'm
remember.
older
Eric-
than a bunch of you, so it's fine.
The place
Evie
is
goes
very
into this with a very great deal of trepidation.
the place is very opulently furnished, but not excessively so. It's made to be very comfortable, while at the same time being moderately showy. So,
Zekin, this is nicer than your church.
I was
There
about
are-
to say the same thing.
I would say it's like as nice, but it's a different flavor of nice. It's supposed to be cozy and comfortable and welcoming, whereas the church is supposed to be authoritative.
Give me another month.
Also,
I
I
need some more stone shapes.
I doubt he has cushioned pews in the church.
Why is the nicest place in our village the brothel? What did we miss?
Because they brought the money in.
They did. They brought a lot of wealth into the village.
Probably what, yeah, it's probably what I understand. From what I understand, they brought a lot of the wealth in with them.
Like the brothel is like right next door to the church.
It's like right there. There's a secret hallway that connects one to the other.
It's for those confessions.
The woman who meets you is Beata. Beata is a young woman, probably older than any of you, but not by much. And she is the wife of the Madame Zophie. So here again, we have a situation where the head of the household is middle-aged, and then they have like a spouse about half their age. And she welcomes you very politely and very formally. Are any of you underdressed?
Give it time.
Do we even really have any dress clothes at this point? Except for maybe Evie?
Evie has a dress she made for herself that she's like had in her bag since leaving Brennanine.
I guess I
mean,
technically have those clothes I stole from what's his name for the wedding.
I mean, Ekon has his fantastic rose gold trimmed armor.
Edmont doesn't have. He lost his fancy clothes when he had to give them to some guy in the
Oh, that's right.
in the woods. Yep.
I'd forgotten about that.
I think Victor's probably
He
normal.
gave the guy the clothes off his back and every penny in his pocket and still got told off.
Yep.
Considering the position that man was in. But let's not worry so much about what you guys... What's the intent? Is it your intent to arrive at this thing underdressed? How formal are you all intending to be? So Evie's wearing her gown. Ekon is
She's
dressed in
very nice.
his vestments.
Like, I think it's probably not that unusual for Evie to dress up for any kind of formal engagement.
But it might be unusual for Edmonts and Jeannie.
Yeah, Edmont will do his best to, be presentable for it, but that's about all they're getting, unfortunately.
Fair.
No, Jeannie has no problem dressing up. I mean, she basically did everything Ruby told her to do because that was the best way to be left
Better
alone
leave
to
her
do the
alone.
things that she wanted to do.
So I'll ask this. Does Jeannie need somebody to tell her to dress up properly in order to do it?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody tell Jeannie for this specific event?
No.
Ekon would have.
Okay.
Ekon understands something of subtext, and they did use his full title. So yeah, Ekon has like his really nice vestments over his armor.
Victor combed his hair.
Okay.
Best Edmont can manage as a traveling cloak that he's carefully laundered.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
Victor
Victor's
Edmonds.
So,
I'll have each of you give me an insight check, please.
be a 12.
A 12? How did Edmont do?
Edmont has to find his character sheet. It's the insight
Although,
button.
hold on, let me get my psionic dice.
That's a 9.
A 9?
So hold on, if a 12 fails, it's a 14.
A 14? Okay. You all are greeted at the door very, very politely and very formally. And Beata introduces herself formally as she takes you into one of the lounge rooms. Obviously, the brothel, if anything, it's a little over-decorated just because it's a much smaller space than they're probably used to. They arrived in the village with 2 wagons packed with goods, probably enough to properly outfit a space maybe twice this size with many more private rooms. But they're making do with what they have. The villagers have put them up in one of the larger structures that was intended to be a family homestead, but is now a brothel. That family just now lives in the trees. They are
Moved to
monkey
the
people.
farm.
You're quickly brought into this lounge room that sits next to where you're going to be dining. They don't have a area in the brothel to prepare food. That's being done at one of their neighbors' homes. So they're going to have servants bring over food from their kitchens. But they have one of their common areas. They have a nice dining table set up. So they're hoping you'll be very comfortable. And they make all of the correct offerings. They offer you drink, and if you need any comforts, they're happy to provide. And they look forward to a very productive discussion over dinner.
Evie's all business.
All business, okay?
Like, if it's clear they're trying to ply her to win their favor, she is not giving them that satisfaction.
Well, right now you're only speaking to Beata. She's the only one that
Okay.
you've met with. But that's clearly what she's doing.
Mhm.
You don't
I
get the
will-
sense, though,
I
that
will-
she's being insincere.
Edmont will apologize for his slovenly attire, though.
Victor will just make small talk.
Yeah, she just chuckles softly and she says, well, unlike some of our clientele, I can tell that you've bathed recently. And you do have my gratitude for that. Assuming Edmont has bathed recently.
Oh yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, unfortunately, our cousin Edmont lost his good clothes during a recent journey, and we haven't had a chance to replace them yet."
She says that one of our girls, Diana, is an expert seamstress. Shall we have you in for a fitting? I know it sounds strange, but she has some skill with tailoring.
I actually a bit of a seamstress myself.
What does Edmont say? She's making the offer to Edmont.
Sure. Well, I don't see why that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, she says that she will be happy to find the material in their stores and make a gift of it to you as a sign of gratitude for allowing them into your beautiful village.
Victor's
Very generous of you.
Victor, what?
Victor's glances and looks at his own clothes as she makes this offer to Edmund.
Well, Edmont was the one who apologized for being slovenly.
That's fine.
I'm pretty sure that you have clothes. You just didn't change.
And actually, Victor has now replaced his fancy clothes since that one dude stole them on the horse.
I'm going to assume in the months that you guys have been set up here that you would have had something nice to change into if you wanted to. It's just up to your...
Okay. In that case, yeah, no, Victor purposely did not.
Okay.
Uh,
Has he bathed recently?
He has bathed. He bathed and he combed his hair.
Okay.
But part of this is he's trying to see just how much flattery these people are willing to do to try and buy influence.
Those of you who are trained in Arcana, please give me an Arcana check.
all right.
So that would be a 17, and if that fails, a 19.
22.
27.
Okay. So all three of you, over the course of the conversation, there is a faint sense of enchantment magic on this woman. Something that she's wearing or carrying on her person is giving off this aura of magic.
Jeannie will actually speak up and say, "So, you may have heard of the things that I do. I'm a magical artificer. I do notice that you are carrying something. Just out of curiosity, what does it do?"
Well, Beata tells you that she's visited the places in the village that she was told were Eugenia's personal works, including the clock tower that you can't get to work right no matter what you do. But the mills that you've built here and the water wheel, she can't wait until spring where she can see it working in action. And that's kind of her disposition throughout the whole conversation is anytime you ask her a question, she always returns with a compliment of some kind. She's clearly done her homework. She knows quite a lot about you already. By way of answering the question, she produces a small, very plain piece of jewelry that she's wearing on a short length of twine on her neck. She pulls it out from where it's tucked away in her bosom, and it's just this small wooden charm. And she tells you that she has enchanted it with a scent she perfected many years ago. And she just finds this to be much more convenient than lavish and expensive perfumes. This is a point of disagreement with her and her wife.
You enchanted it.
She nods.
That's an impressive feat.
What kind of magic do you...
Let's get another Arcana check from anybody in the room. She describes the kind of magic she does as small enchantments and charms, things that she learned to do in her girlhood before she joined the Cervan.
Be a 17.
17?
It'd be a 13.
7.
A 7? Victor, I'm going to give this answer in mechanical terms. Obviously, she's not going to say this, and even if she did, you wouldn't have a point of reference having grown up in a culture that doesn't have like specific designations of magic users, but functionally she would be a druidess. She has some low levels of magic that she draws upon from a connection with nature in some form. Very, very different from the sort of magic you all use.
Oh, I read about this in a book.
Oh, I doubt anybody has written about me in books. I'm not that talented.
Have you met Aslan yet?
Goodness, no. He is not. He's not graced us with his presence.
You would suggest you try and stay away.
At this point in the conversation, Zophie enters the room, and Zophie is much older and very heavily powdered and perfumed. And you can tell as she enters the room, she's walking with some difficulty. One of the younger girls is helping her with her train as she comes in. And her wife stands and goes over, takes her hand, and she makes formal introduction to the lady Zophie Organova, Madam of the Cervan. And she introduces each of you by name in turn.
Still starting with Ekon, not Evie.
No, starting with whoever she was speaking to last, which I think was it Jeannie?
Probably. Or Victor.
Gives a respectful bow.
And Zophie bids you all to sit. She takes her. They're seating on probably one of the only pieces of furniture they actually brought with them is this beautiful cushioned. It's either an oversized chair or too small a sofa. Difficult to tell.
Have a seat.
Zophie makes her apologies. She says she's been feeling a little under the weather lately. It's a bit colder on the road than they had anticipated. Do you all have any specific topics you want to bring up to the madams?
Yes.
Just over the course of casual conversation?
Are they also Darknese?
Yes.
Where are they from originally?
Darkon. Both of them.
We're in Darkon. I mean, like city-wise, this setup is not something that would,
When you ask that, Zophie is very. She almost seems like she's watching the conversation more than participating in it. She's letting the younger Beata do most of the talking. But when you ask that question, Zophie very pointedly and directly answers that until this past summer, they were operating in the village of Bartomej.
What drove you to leave?
At this, you see Beata reduce her glance by just for a moment. You can tell that this is a bad subject for them. Zophie straightens up. She folds her hands in her lap. And she addresses Ekon and says, "This is why we have invited you here, is to discuss the particular nature of our being here versus being in the village of Bartomej. If you would graciously hear us."
You're not the one in charge, and Victor motions to Evie. You should be talking to her.
She looks to Evie, meaning, of course, no disrespect for the Duchess. Our particular reservations are religious in nature and not political. Of course, if there are objections to our operating here, she's asking Evie.
I have no particular objections, but I am interested in why you came to this village among any other possible destination in Darkon.
And at this, Beata stands up again and clasps her hands together and says, "Then shall we move into the dining room and have our dinner and move on to discussion of such topics?"
Evie nods.
Then you all are brought into one of the back rooms, a common room with a very large hearth placed in the back. The rooms in this building are fairly cramped because, like I said, they took a homestead and they tried to cordon off more sections than it was really designed for. This hearth was probably meant to heat the entire house at one point, but it looks like they've divided the back common room into two smaller rooms, one of which they've moved this almost comically overlarge dining room table into. They're making do with what they have, but at no point are you uncomfortable at all. And the back door just next to the hearth opens up out to the back of the house where they have their wood pile. And two of the children from the family who lives next door are acting as servants for the dinner. And they are very pleased to bring over... This is probably the first time this family has... They're not hosting the Veritas household, but they are cooking for them, which they take great pride in. So they bring in the large covered platter, and you have a, not a meager dinner. You guys aren't, it's not a fantastical feast, but they do have very good vintage of drink. The story of where they came from is as follows. This comes out over the course of the conversation at dinner. They were in the village of Bartomej, where the Cerven was looked over by many, many years by Madame Matilda, whose painting hangs over the common room now. There's this beautiful painting of this old woman in very opulent dress with a powdered face and painted lips, just like Zophie is wearing now. The Lord of Bartomej died, and his son took the lordship, and when he did, he brought along with him his strange and cruel god and forced a new religion onto the people of the village. A god that they came to know as the Red Nail. Among the Red Nail's aggressive tenets was a ban on fornication. And in response to this, the villagers set fire to the brothel.
I see.
So several of their girls died in the fire, including the matron at the time, Madame Matilda, and they were forced to flee. The way that Zophie puts it, to her great shame, she gave a large amount of gold to the Vistani to help smuggle them out of Bartomej and buy information for a new village where they could become established. And that's where they heard of Silverbough.
Allow me to extend my condolences at your losses.
So, first off, do they seem to be telling the truth? And second off, Victor will ask a question about the Vistani.
I mean, it's up to you whether you want to believe them or not, but you don't see any immediate reason for them to be lying.
Did the Vistani actually get you out? You say to your regret. Why is that?
And this is something that you would know, having lived here for a while, is just dealings with the Vistani have a way of blowing back on you. The Vistani are... The superstition is that the Vistani are cheaters and liars, and if you give them gold to do something, they'll either not do it or they'll betray you. In this case, that didn't happen. They were...
And that's the point Victor wants to make, is that did not happen. The Vistani did not betray you.
Even so, Zophie says, and it's kind of you to say, but even so, it would not look kindly on us if this were to become common knowledge. It may have a dampening effect on our clientele.
Well, when we first arrived in this land, the first people we found who showed us hospitality were the Vistani.
To which
we do not personally have any ill favor towards the Vistani.
This village is a refuge for all, including the Vistani, should they choose it.
If you wish your wish that to remain a secret, then I don't have any. Then I shall keep it.
Yeah, and that's very good of you all. It's extremely generous. And they have met at hand's length, but they have met the Vistani who resides here, Koyana. Over the course of the meal, as the dessert course is being brought out, you're introduced to the rest of the girls in the household. Milena, Diana, Eva, Natasa, and Dobravka. All of them are working age except Dobravka, who's a little older than Tenny. So she is more of a maidservant in the household. She is not yet in the craft, so to speak. They also have a man living with them, although there's nothing improper about him because he is an old eunuch. They call him a handyman, but he also kind of works as a bouncer and anything else that needs done. Named Heineck.
Are these all the employees of the brothel? Victor will glance at the girls.
For currently, yes. Obviously, they 5 or 6 of them died in the fire in Bartamej. So right now they functionally have 4 working girls.
And they all wish to be here. They're all happy working here? He glances at the girls.
So if they're not giving any outward indication. They're all beautifully dressed and groomed. They're all beaming with pride. They're all speaking very respectful. They only speak if directly spoken to. And unless you have any immediate use of them, they don't stay in the room very long. They're in just long enough to make introductions and then they're ushered away again.
And what
Edmont would make a
What do you
point
do
to
with the
turn to the.
Edmont, go ahead.
Edmont would make a point to turn to them and turn and say, "And you are not being coerced into this work, correct?" He would make a point to address each of them in turn.
All of them insist they're not, and Zophie. The rest of you, as Edmont is doing this, so you can tell that Zophie is regarding this with growing suspicion. And what was Victor?
Oh, Victor is going to ask if the women keep the men happy. Who keeps the women happy? Commenting on the fact there are no male prostitutes.
Well, that's not the nature of their business. They're happy to cater to women as well as men, but they only cater in one direction, so to speak.
So what's exactly your religious concern with all of this then?
Well, she wants to know that your god of light is not as aggressive against their craft as Bartamej's red nail. What is the nature of this Lord of Light that you serve?
I mean, I kind of recite, little bits of the tenets of the faith, but you'll make it a point. At the end of the day, you'll just say, no, I mean, this would have been perfectly acceptable by the High Church back where we came from, and I see no reason to change that here.
So long as they're here willingly.
And Zophie's then...
Yes, there are very strong constraints about binding others to your means against their will. But as long as there's none of that.
And at this, Zophie... so to get to the point of it, she says these questions of coercion do seem to be very strong with you. We cannot say for certain that this is a life any of us would have chosen, but the Servant is the life that has been granted to us.
And Jeannie will speak up. What they mean by coercion is you're not forcefully keeping them here. They can leave at any time they...
Evie's just looking at Jeannie like that is a very rude question.
Victor's not.
You can see on Zophie's face that it's a little... You can tell it's a little rude, but it's also not unexpected.
But, Jeannie will shrug at him and be like, but like Ekon said, this is pretty common where we come from. Otherwise,
Zophie nods, and she answers your question with a question. Would you say to one of your peasants, you are a free man, free to leave whenever you like, and then open your gates to the harsh, deadly wilderness outside?
If that's their choice, yes.
If a man chooses to stay under those constraints, has he made any kind of choice?
that's a philosophical question outside the purview of the meaning of the questions we had, because there are like things like magical compulsions, and Genie would just start listing off all kinds of like
Genie.
like drugs, like drugs, drug dependence,
Genie.
magical.
They tell you they have no dealings in magic and they have no dealings in drugs.
But like
Madam-
Genie will go through like all these like different ways you could coerce someone into like prostitution, and then and she'll get like halfway through it and then realize everybody is staring at her and just kind of shrink down.
Madam, what my cousin means to say is, if the girls in your employ decide they would rather do something else within the village, they will be allowed to do that. That's what we mean by coercion.
Sophie says that they are, of course, free to make that decision for themselves, but you will not take, I hope, as an insult to the village you've provided that none of them do.
Oh, not at all. If they wish to do this, then by all means.
They look forward to the opening of the Silverbough Vineyards, and as long as they're assured that the operations of the church are not going to step on them in any way, that's basically all the business they wanted to get through. They spend the rest of the visit simply ingratiating themselves upon the Veritas family.
Yeah, so here's one thing that Evie wants to make very clear, and she's not going to be rude. She's much better diplomatically than I am, so she can put this into terms that'll sound right. But basically, she's going to say she has no problem with them operating in the town as they were, so long as everything's kept on the up and up. The church isn't going to come down on them, but she is going to make this clear that attempts to ply their craft to win over the favor of the Veritas family will not be looked kindly upon by her.
She says then, and you could tell this might be the first time in the conversation that Sophie is responding in anything close to lighthearted. She says then there is where you will run into turbulence, because it is her nature to ingratiate herself upon everyone she does dealings with. If the only offense she can give is by not giving offense, then you've put her into a particular predicament.
I think what our Duchess means to say is, don't expect reciprocity.
No, she understood what the Duchess meant to say. She just turned around and joked about it a little bit.
I think, I think at this point, Ekon would probably actually try and get into a lengthy philosophical debate about the paradox of choice. With her, given what we've talked about already.
When that begins to happen, Beata, she indulges the conversation for a few moments, but then she calls for Milena to be brought back into the room. She tells you that Milena has the quickest wit of any of the girls in the house. And Milena is able to discuss, as she takes a seat at the table across from you, and she is able to indulge all of your philosophical requirements. This is a brothel where these girls have received training in many types of satisfaction.
Oh no.
So Victor wants to know what the brothel plans to give back to the community, aside from the selling of their services to others. Others work and their proceeds go into the communal store. What will you contribute?
Tax.
Yeah, taxation. Each of the girls has other kinds of skills that can be put to use as needed. They can turn a needle. They're good with a paintbrush. They're not good for physical labor, obviously, but they can cook. They can clean. They know herb craft. They're not going to be a drain on the society.
And I assume the community has no problem with them being here.
The only problem they've heard is that some of the men don't have the silver. That's the only complaint they've gotten so far.
But they seem like high-class girls. They're probably not cheap.
I do have one requirement if your brothel is to stay here. You must ensure that all your customers are bathed properly. We do not need disease spreading.
And they tell you that's also a service they provide. If you have need.
So, Jeannie will like reach down and pull up her. Is it a purse of holding? No, it's just a bag. She pulls up her bag of holding and says, "So, do you guys buy alcohol?"
How many dead bodies are in that bag?
None. But I have an entire train car bar's worth of alcohol,
Yes.
fine spirits in this thing, and
I had forgotten. They probably couldn't afford to buy all of it.
I don't have to buy it all right now.
We
Yeah,
need money.
they'll purchase a couple bottles, find whatever the price is for a bottle of good drink out of the PHB, and put a 50% markup on it because there's no other supplier at the moment.
Like, and be like, I'll hold on to this, and when we get ready to buy more, like, because this is like really good stuff, and I don't drink, and I'm not giving it to Victor.
This is excellent news for them because while they do have some stores and there are connections, it's going to be years before the vineyard in Silverbough is returning dividends. So sourcing another supply of drink was going to be one of their going concerns. And you seem to have brought them an immediate solution to that problem. And they are grateful.
Yes, I did. I don't know exactly how many bottles I have. The entire train car emptied it.
It's like 400 pounds worth of liquor, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of liquor. It's like Bricker was like, the entire back wall is nothing but bottles. Well, into the bag they go.
Yeah. So you filled your bag to capacity. So
I had half expected that those would have all vanished by the time we got off the train.
He said everything
No,
we
you
took.
still have
He
it.
said, which makes me really sad. We didn't do the whole. I still
taken
have
the
an
run.
infusion, so like I could have 2 bags of holding. If we ever need it. We just
So-
take a long rest, and I just have 2 bags of holding.
don't put one inside the other.
I thought
Can't
that.
be putting a body in there.
Yeah. I have 0 bodies currently in my bag of holding.
Is there anything else you guys have for the Organovas before the end of your meeting with them?
I will ask to schedule an appointment with Diana to get myself fitted for new clothing.
Oh, at your leisure. No need for an appointment. They will send her to the manor.
Mm-hmm.
I think Victor just
they are
generally talks.
they are here at your pleasure. When you send word, they'll send her over.
And absolutely, Edmont will.
Okay, then you leave things in good standings with the Organovas. And that's how you settle into things with your new settlers here. At some point in the winter... Actually, I need to add a new thing to this list. Everybody make me a perception check, please.
That's not going to do well.
19.
19 as well.
Can anyone beat a 19?
No.
Yes. I have a.
I have 6.
Evie got a 10.
What did Victor get?
22.
Victor, over the course of the winter, you notice that a couple of the villagers, not many, maybe 1 in 10 or so. I mean, everybody's wearing heavy furs and coats around at this point. Every morning has fresh snowfall. It's going to be that way for months, but some of the coats are a type of fur that you had not noticed before now. And when looking into it, it's a gray fur, and it doesn't look particularly soft or amenable. And nobody has a coat made entirely out of it. It's always small tufts of it sewn into another garment.
Does it look like werewolf skin?
It's definitely wolf fur. That is information that is provided to you when pressed upon. And they're wearing it, of course, for superstitious reasons. Affixing it to a warm coat or cloak or fur of another kind is supposed to ward off bad luck and ill omens.
Okay, but are they killing the wolves in the forest to get this fur?
Yeah. First question is we need to send a rider to the werewolves we had an alliance with and check on.
We don't need to go that far yet. I need to know. We had an agreement with them that we would not intentionally hunt the wolves. We would defend ourselves if the wolves attacked us.
Yeah.
But They're not supposed to be. Our people are not supposed to be hunting wolves. So I need to make sure that's not what's happening.
All you know for certain right now is that some of your people are wearing wolf fur sewn into their existing cloaks.
Victor will inform the rest of his family and try to find out the origin of this wolf fur, as well as what superstitious things they are wearing it to avoid, like what their concerns are.
Okay. Is anybody else taking any action involving these wolves, or just Victor?
Edmont is helping Victor in those endeavors.
Okay. One of you go ahead and make me an investigation check. The other one can help.
What's your bonus?
I got a +6.
That's you, buddy.
So help, you mean advantage?
Yes.
Yep.
Edmont is helping you investigate.
Oh, almost that 20.
That's going to be a 22, and if that's not good enough, it'll be a 27.
Well, I'll give you the option. You can use wisdom, or it's intelligence investigation, or you can use charisma investigation for this. Either one.
You said charisma, that's funny.
So intelligence, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's a 22. If a 22 fails, it's a 27.
Right. So the way that you find this information involves like standard detective work, chasing down leads, hearing where people bought the furs from, where they got the... You eventually source it to one of the... a man who's a laborer, came with you from Castle Avernus, probably did quite a lot of work in felling trees and construction and loading supplies, and settling into autumn as that work started to fall off a little more, took to demonstrating more and more skill with woodsmanship. So he's been hunting game and drying out meats for the village. His name is Yeppe, and recently Yeppe has taken to, you discover this is apparently the source of the wolf furs. He has a small cabin that he maintains just inside the tree line away from the village. So you have this walled section of the village, then you have these copse of trees back behind you. He maintains a cabin slightly up river from you guys.
And he's been hunting wolves.
All you know right now is that he has sold wolf fur to somebody in town who has cut it up for superstitious reasons. The reason is because the champions of air descended and laid waste to the Loup Garou of the Keltostravi, now wearing symbols of fallen wolves is seen as a demonstration of faith to air.
All right, we need to put a stop to this right now.
So we'll tell Ekon about that, so you can put a stop to that, and then I think, Edmont, you want to come with me to visit this guy in his little shack?
Yeah.
Is it just the two of you, or all of you going?
I'm not going. Jeannie is not going. She does not care.
Yeah,
It was the villagers that made the decision to...
It's just a common belief that has started to spread across the city. Somebody heard it from somebody, heard it from somebody. You don't know how it got
But he
started.
didn't, like, sell them to them with that claim. He just sold them wolf fur.
You don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
No, but...
I guess I'll go along.
Okay.
So, see where this started.
Ekon, Victor, Edmont, and Evie are all going, but Jeannie's staying behind.
Yeah, Evie will go if you ask her. If you tell her what's going on, she'll want to go.
Everybody knows what's going on.
Okay, yeah, Evie will go then.
Okay. Jeannie is staying behind because she's still not... she still can't figure out why this clock tower doesn't work properly.
Evie, if
Yes.
this man has been killing wolves, we need to hand him over to the Loup Garou, and they should make him one of them. That's
The
kind of
Keltostravi.
That's probably going a little too far. I want him to stop. He can't keep doing it. Like, if he's been hunting wolves, we're going to say, you need to stop hunting wolves. If you keep doing it, there's going to be a problem.
Well, the issue is that if we don't tell the Loup Garou, and they find out...
Keltostravi.
Keltostravi, whoever. If we don't tell the werewolves and they find out, they're going to be really pissed at us and it may break our alliance. If we tell the werewolves, then I'm not saying we kill him. I'm not saying he needs to die. But he's going to have some sort of compensation to them for killing their wolves.
You got to remember, just interjecting because this might something you don't forget. They don't consider bitten people to be Keltistravi.
That is correct.
They don't consider me to be
Yeah.
among their number. So
Yeah.
So like giving them to him and say bite him, he's yours. It's not going to do anything.
Okay, he'll have some sort of compensation with wolves.
Well, I think we cross that bridge if that comes up.
That's fine. I'm just putting that out there.
Okay. The four of you go to confront Yepe, and he is very surprised that four. Actually, I guess five, because Orson would be going with you as well. Orson goes everywhere. Lugren is there in spirit. Literal spirits, because he's drunk.
As usual.
Yeah, he's surprised and kind of taken aback that the Duchess and her whole family has come to pay him a visit. And he invites you all. His cabin's small and meager, but he makes available any hospitality he can.
All right, Evie gets right to the point. Where are you getting this wolf fur?
He tells you that he was hunting game in the woods early in the winter, and a pack of starving wolves set upon his camp, and he went to chase them away because he knows that you have decreed that wolves shall not be killed in your woods. He loosed 2 arrows as they approached at very short range inside of the light of his campfire. His intention was to chase them off, but he pierced one of them and it bled out. He saw no reason to let the carcass go to waste, so he butchered the meat. And the fur he knew wasn't very valuable, but when he came back and somebody else in town saw that he had it, offered him silver for it, so he sold it.
Okay. So it sounds like he was defending himself from wolves, but I don't want... Can I make an insight check to make sure he's not bullshitting me?
If you want.
Does he look scared as he's telling us this? Like he got caught?
Let's see what Evie gets on her insight.
That is a 15.
He's very nervous, and his answers are very practiced. He's not stammering over himself quite a lot, like you do get from peasants from time to time. But it's difficult to tell whether it's practiced because he just knew that this confrontation would be coming, and he had to make sure to explain himself properly, or whether he's invented the story.
All right.
You don't seem nervous there, Yeppy.
He seems very nervous.
Okay, well...
But his story is very straight.
Okay, well, I'm going to cast Zone of Truth, and I'm going to order him not to resist it.
Okay.
And
he takes this very seriously, because the only time he's ever seen this before... like, he considers this... Actually, you guys played this up as part of a criminal trial.
Yeah.
This is how Evie decides things. And she's going to ask, did you kill this wolf in
before
self-defense?
you cast the spell, he's going to... Do I stand accused of a crime before air?
That's what we're here to find out. All I need to know is, did you kill this wolf in self-defense?
He looks to Ekon. Do I not have the right to hear the charges before and the accusations before is the trial to be conducted in this cabin? He's confused.
Injured a treaty with the Keltistravi.
Can I make an insight check to think if I thought he was lying earlier? I was here for this whole conversation. So.
Yeah, if you want, but you're not going to get a different answer that I just gave.
Oh, okay.
You'll be able to... his concern right now is that this ritual of casting Zone of Truth and being asked to submit himself to it happened in a public venue with somebody who was questioned as a direct result of accusations against the laws of the church.
Yippee. Here's the issue. You are accused of breaking our treaty with the Keltistravi. Now, we could do this in public if you wish, but this is a fairly sensitive issue. Were you here when the Keltistravi attacked in the first place?
Oh, he was. He remembers that night very clearly.
We would prefer to have that not happen again, which is why we instituted a ban on wolves. You shooting at the wolves was not a smart idea.
I mean,
No, wait a second. It's completely We're fine. You can kill a wolf in self-defense.
That's why I'm asking that. If
If
he
it's
killed a
self-
wolf in if the wolves attacked him, we're allowed to defend ourselves. I need to make sure that's actually what happened.
Evie, I don't think you need to cast your spell. We're fine. I believe him.
The further issue is that someone offered you silver for this wolf pelt, which you sold. Now people are talking about how wearing wolf skin is a show of dedication and fealty and loyalty, which is only going to prompt further killing of wolves and further taking of skins.
Well, it doesn't sound like that started with him. We need to figure out where that came from.
So you're not going to subject him to Zone of Truth then?
Ekon advises against it.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of believe him, but I don't want like the Keltistravi to come up and say we saw him hunting wolves, and he was lying.
Okay.
Well, I'm not there. Never mind.
You're in your clock tower.
How long ago during the investigation would you find out like how long ago this started?
Earlier in the winter.
So it's been like a couple months and no Keltistravi have come looking.
Not so far.
All right.
All right. So Evie is. She's just going to make a decree. She's going to remind everyone that the wolves are not to be hunted, and that wearing wolf fur as a sign of good fortune is not one of the tenets. It's not one of the rituals of air.
So when we made this deal with the Keltistravis, I don't remember. Did we make anything like if we kill a wolf, we'll give you its corpse or anything like that as far as what we've done with the dead wolf?
All they said is we aren't supposed to do it.
They asked us not to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
And they were in really no position to be making demands of you anyway.
No, but it makes sense to me. I will intend to respect that part of the deal. I don't want to make them mad at us. They can't fight us, but I would prefer not to have bad blood.
Yeah.
So what the man asks, Yeppe asks, what should be done if he is again set upon by wolves in the course of his labors in the woods?
You are allowed to defend yourself, but I would prefer you not sell fur to the other villagers. Not wolf fur. You can sell other animal skins. There's no restriction on that.
If you have to kill a wolf in self-defense, you will bring its corpse to us, and we will decide what to do with it.
He nods. He says, very well, so shall it be.
If we find you're killing an abnormally large number of wolves, accusations will be formally made.
Okay. And you leave it at that with Yeppe?
Yep.
Like as long as if he stops, that's what I'm looking for right now.
And if the Keltistravi come looking, we will respond.
And as far as you know, after an official proclamation is made to stop wearing wolf fur as a token of air, the practice stops.
All right.
Ekon will also suggest that if they wish to have a token of our family, they could wear rabbit fur in the same manner.
I mean, rabbit feet are actual Lucky Charms.
Are they?
Not for the rabbit,
Yeah, it's an unlucky rabbit.
but you get 4 of them per rabbit.
We're going to start finding 3-legged rabbits running around now.
Are there
Evie, my
rabbits, huh?
thought is,
Mhm.
if you and I couldn't read the man, if the man was capable enough to lie to you or me, he's going to be able to lie to one of the werewolves. We didn't need the spell.
I just don't want this to get out of hand. And
Fair,
it sounds
fair,
like
but
it sounds like nobody's forcing the issue, so I think we're probably okay. I just don't want to, that was the first, basic treaty that we put together, and I don't want it to seem like that we're just ignoring it.
right. But we're trying to build a society with due process of law, and just breaking out spells like that whenever you want is maybe a little not good optics.
And Evie, she understands how that could look bad. Yeah.
That was a very diplomatic way of calling her a proto-fascist.
He's a.
Ekon's lawful as fuck, so
Yeah.
What did you call yourself? A pinko commie?
Evie's chaotic. She doesn't. She will use the whatever tools are available to her to solve the problem.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
right there with you.
Just be warned that if the treaty is in danger, I will tell them where to find that man.
I mean,
The Celtostravi do pay a call before the winter
Mhm.
is out. So several weeks
Oh.
after you've spoken to Yeppe. And they present 2 skinned wolf corpses to you. At the gates of your village is where this meeting takes place. They tell you that the wolves have been felled by arrows. And that they do consider this to be a breach of trust.
Do the wolves appear that they were eaten or just skinned and left alone?
Killed, skinned, and then left to rot and freeze in the snow.
And he said he ate the wolves, didn't he?
He said he butchered the one that he killed, yes.
so is this? How old is these corpses? Like, is it the right time frame?
I mean, it's in the middle of winter, so they're not going to rot completely away. Anyway, they're going to essentially be preserved as well as possible. But they say that one probably from several weeks and another maybe a little older than that. They came across them in the woods. They didn't see the act being committed.
Yeah.
But can we get a location of where? Basically, Victor wants to try and match the location of where these wolves were found versus the location of where Yeppe was supposedly attacked.
So they were both found within 10 miles of the village, which is fairly far out, but is not quite as far out as where the Celtostravi borders are, because it's going to be several days' travel depending which direction you're going. But they can't attest to how old the bodies might have been. They came across them, and when they come across bodies left like this, having been bled out from puncture wounds, they know it was an arrow that felled them and not another wild animal.
Have they found any others, or are these the only 2 they found?
These are the 2 that they found.
I mean,
Evie?
Okay, now it's an official investigation, Evie.
Okay, so I will tell the Celtostravi that I have made a decree recently to remind my people that the killing of wolves is not permissible under the laws of my duchy.
And
I will conduct an investigation to find out who has done this and who is violating my laws.
If I may be so bold, if we are able to find the one who did this, what would give you satisfaction?
is that a question Evie wants an answer to?
It's a question he asked the Celtostravi.
Right, but Evie's standing
Evie-
next to you.
Evie would prefer to handle this matter internally, because I don't know that I want to know what the Celtostravi would do to him.
I think it's
also giving our peasantry to what they consider to be nightmarish monsters is probably not a good way to remain on the
not.
unleashed
Also
side
bad
of the.
luck, yeah.
Yeah,
But as our allies and as the victims of this crime, they deserve some input. We don't have to listen to it, but we should at least get their input.
So the deal that you had made with the Celtostravi is not that they would be your allies, but rather be essentially vassals in your territory. Like, they're here in service of the duchy.
Yeah.
But as
We
part
like
of that
that.
arrangement, it was agreed that you would not slaughter wolves. And now at least 2 wolves that you know of have been slaughtered.
how
So-
many like?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, how can you? He says, do you have any proof that these wolves were not slaughtered in self-defense?
All they know is the wolves were killed with arrows.
So
And
okay,
They have not...
well, we
they
did
don't have
leave a proof-
direct control over the wolves as
Yeah.
such, but the influence they've been able to use is they have tried to influence the wolves to not feed upon men. It would not have been... If it had only been 1 wolf slaughtered, they might have gone the winter without bringing the issue to you, and maybe only raised it when they came to issue their winter report in spring. But upon finding the second...
Yeah,
They
and so
thought it was perhaps better to bring it up right away.
And so if somebody has maliciously been killing wolves, what would give them satisfaction? We're obviously not going to kill the person.
They would have to defer to Evie on that. That's not a question they can answer because
Right.
they're vassals of the duchy. They're not. This isn't an equal group
Relationship.
of. This is it's not an equal relationship. These are people who are in your service. You tell them what's what, not the other way around.
I mean,
The question is though, what they're going to want to know today is: are you going to reaffirm the deal that you've made previously, or is that deal now being amended?
I intend to honor this deal, and
Okay.
if someone has been killing wolves against my laws, then there will be
Poaching.
repercussions for that person. Yes, that's
it's poaching, and we've already reaffirmed it. Like she put out a thing, so
Yeah, I did make an announcement to my people: killing wolves is off limits.
Okay. What do you want them to do? Are you going to render a decision and call them back in some time frame?
We'll send a message to them when we've come to a conclusion.
Okay.
because we have to figure out who's doing it first.
So the representatives will make camp. They give you a location less than a day away, so it wouldn't be a difficult ride. Even in the snows, it wouldn't be impossible.
I mean, I just cast sending. It's fine.
You could do that too.
Is it cold enough that the snow doesn't melt?
Yes.
Okay. Ekon's still got a bunch of spell slots left, so basically, after he does his stone shape every morning, he's gonna just walk around the village with flaming sphere and melt the paths open each morning.
To the great, initially great fear and trepidation of the populace, but eventually to the great joy of the village children who appreciate the spectacle every morning as Ekon emerges from the manor and melts safe passage down the thoroughfare towards the church.
With a miniature sun.
You hear Jeannie in the background, like she's walking back and forth doing errands. She sees you do this. You hear her go, "Show off!"
Let's get
Just
an investigation check. One check from somebody in the group. So you can apply any bonuses you can throw on this, and you can make it at advantage, because I'm assuming more than one of you are going to assist.
I think
Okay.
Victor's
But-
got the best.
I want to know what attribute is being applied to this investigation and why.
I've got a +7.
I have a +6 with a psionic dice.
So
Are those
and,
intelligence?
That would be intelligence.
Okay.
I can throw a D4 onto it.
I can only psionic dice myself, unless you got something more than a +8 troll.
No. You've got me. So at
I want
worst,
investigation
you're
at
equal to
advantage.
me. Yeah. So
To
at
start with.
worst, so if I assist him, that'll give him advantage plus the D4, plus your psionic die. The psionic die makes you at worst equal to my bonus because of the minimum is a +1.
So is Victor doing it, or is Jeannie doing it?
I would say Victor's doing it with Jeannie assisting.
Okay. So the other three of you, go ahead and make that roll to start with. Let's start there.
So 21, and if a 21 fails, it's a 26.
Well, do you want the 21 or the 26?
No, the 26.
Okay.